We are live. Are we live? Vibing. Waiting for a sign that we're live. Oh, looks like we're live. Good. Welcome to Sunkworks. Episode 55. Bear with me a minute here. There's a trick to this, isn't there? Like with everything. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That looks nice. That looks pretty nice. One more thing. Just need to stretch it out a little bit here. That might do nicely. I don't know, can you tell? Yeah, definitely. Maybe. Alright, let's get going here. We need music before we can be live here. Okay, what are we doing actually? Let me get some stuff off my desk here because we're going to need it. Yes, you can still see what's on my desk. Sort of. Right? Shit. Pardon my French. Oh, you speak French? We've got the nodes in maintenance mode. Ow. Almost squashed my foot with the chair. Excuse me. Here we go. Oh. Drat. Uh-oh. We have the wrong aspect ratio. I wonder if we can fix this. I'm pretty sure I have to put this back first. Then stop the stream and restart it. I apologize if this is a dud of a stream here, but I will try to get started again here in a second. Be right back. Have we hosed everything completely? Here, I have to fast forward to see what does it look like at this very moment. It seems to be saying that we're not streaming anymore, but I'm not really sure because I did click start streaming. And it should be live. It says we're live. I think we are live. Okay. I think I fixed it. Alright, give us a shot here. Give us a shout on the chat if you're watching. We'll get started here with the music in a second. Here, let's see, can I do this too? Oh. I think I should be over here. Let's power sound check. Oh man, lighting. Forget it. No lighting. Oh, that's much worse. All right. What else can we do? Holy hell. Okay, we're back in the office now. We're back. Did we decide what music we want? No, I have no idea. I should have definitely worked this stuff out ahead of time. I have no idea what we're going to listen to, by the way. We're just going to pick something like usual. It's giving us a few things that are not pamplemousse. I'm not particularly happy with the choices here, but we're just going to go with it. Let's see. Kind of interested in that. Let's see what's that. All right. Here we go. Sorry, sound check. Trying to figure out if we have sound and for the right level. I think I need to turn it down a little bit. Well, that was lovely. Oh, holy hell. Hold on a minute here. You can put me down here. Yes, that was lovely. Thank you. Oh, Toha Sensei Koku. I'm sure the people who speak and understand Japanese know what that is all about. I really have no idea, but I enjoyed it a lot. So thank you for your contribution to Sunkworks, like it or not. All right, here is the topic for today. You can pause and read it in more detail if you want, or go and see the show notes. I don't know why you'd need to pause to do this, but we have to nuke the storage on these nodes. You saw me take one of them off my desk and put it back on the shelf. And we pulled the curtain. So now we have to wipe the storage, which I'm not sure that we can do that without first installing Talos and bootstrapping it. We need the cluster to be in an operative state before we can start sending commands like that to it. And we've got some other agenda items, and we'll get to those as we get there. But the one thing I am interested in to highlight here is the link. That wasn't the thing, but I'm going to click on it and show you that link anyway. Yes, of course. Holy hell. I thought I put it here in the show notes. Well, it must have been in one of my earlier drafts that I deleted. Stuff about accounting in here. What is all this? I think this is where we're going to focus. I know there was something else I wanted to say about this. Oh yeah, this. Here. So I would like to try that later. See if we can restore no, actually, let me try that now. Let me think about it. Theoretically, Linstor is stateless except for the state. So if the entire cluster is nuked and the cluster state is nuked, but the state drives are still there, you should be able to reconstruct the entire cluster, theoretically. But you might need backups of some things like the mappings of persistent volumes to virtual machines, or you might need a way to reconstruct those things. So if we had one or two virtual machines only, or rather if we had one or two virtual clusters only, so we could at least show what drives are mapped to what cluster entities. Well, I don't really know the answer to that. We're not going to get to that today, is what we're not going to do, actually. We are going to focus on this, like I said in the show notes. So I've wiped this content out already. So we're going to do this from scratch. And then we're going to try to install one or two clusters, one at a time. So we're going to take our time a little bit because I want to see what succeeds and what fails, and whether I hit any of the bugs that I hit last time. We're going to see one thing we haven't seen before, I think. I don't know if I've shown in any of the prior speed runs. I don't think it was ready yet. VS Code. We saw VS Code bug out, actually, I remember now, in one of the prior speed runs. We did see that much. And so I went back and fixed that bug. It's not in a release, but if you really want, I will put out an Edge release. There's a whole story about how this is broken, and you need to really trust me if you want to use, like, I could totally hack your, this is not a great system, this whole plugins thing. It's kind of, I don't really know about the security of this extension. Like, I wouldn't want to have, well, anyway, you push the button that says I trust the author, right? If you want to run it. So you know what you got yourself into, hopefully. So we've got our test version. We've been building Cozystack. We're going to install it on this cluster. We are going to nuke the user drives only. There's a special make target for that. So we usually run nuke-all-nodes. We're going to run nuke-only storage this time because the nodes are already in maintenance mode. So they won't respond to the usual nuke-only storage or nuke-all-nodes commands because they're in maintenance mode. And these commands require you to be bootstrapped already in order to run them. So I'm not sure how we'll handle that, but this is going to add a little bit of time to the speed run, which I mentioned in the show notes as well. So it's not going to go as fast because we'll have to reboot an extra time, and that reboot is going to be, it should be pretty quick still. Oh, but I'm going to do one thing so that when I see the worker node back here, I can boot it from the hard drive instead of letting a net boot a second time. I don't know if you can see this from where I don't think you can. Hold on a second. Yeah, there. This machine down here, it has a tendency. I'm not sure what's up with the BIOS. I haven't figured out a way to make it boot reliably. But if I net boot using UEFI, which is an option, I can net boot with regular BIOS or with UEFI, then the installation of Talos that I get is ready for booting with only the matching option, right? And what I found is if I'm in BIOS mode, regular old non-UEFI boot, if I am in that mode, then when the drive gets wiped, it will not push itself back into net booting automatically. I have to come over, I have to intervene. But if I choose the UEFI option instead, well then it will only select the UEFI hard drive if I go in after the net boot and do a new boot order. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I have to pick the drive after it's been initialized. As soon as the drive is wiped, the boot order is reverted, which is almost what I wanted. I want it to go to netboot. I want it to fall back to netboot, and it only does that in UEFI mode, which means that as soon as the hard drive is wiped, I lose the hard drive boot option, and just installing a new operating system on the hard drive doesn't put it back. Which is strange because this is the only one of the machines on my rack that does this. I have two other machines that are identical HP worker machines, and then there's this one that's just an older model. Maybe that's the issue. And the fourth machine is under my desk. That's what I'm glancing at over in this direction. Okay, so I'm going to plug this keyboard in so I have that option when it's time to reboot that machine, to just go over and force it. Because net booting, it's like I mentioned, it's an older model. I built almost all of these machines. It is a somewhat older model, and it is a bit slower to boot over the network as well. So All right. I think it has DDR3 instead of DDR4. I don't really know which ones are in vogue now. I just know that when I tried to order more RAM for it, it was the only one that I couldn't get a reasonable amount of RAM to put in. And it's because it's older generation hardware. So I'm going to shut up now, and we're going to get going. Let's zoop. I see why I'm dropping frames now, because I'm on the NordVPN. This episode sponsored not by NordVPN. I'll be right back. This is going to disrupt the screen again. Sorry. Are we live again? I think we're live. How will we know? Testing. Yeah, hopefully that's the only thing that's wrong here. Alright, that one is responding now. There we go. Okay, great. We now resume your regularly scheduled programming. It seems as though we might not be live anymore. I'm really not sure, but we're going to do this and just keep recording. I really don't care at this point. The E stands for endpoint. You can use one of the control plane nodes as the endpoint. I will be right back. Another interruption, sorry. It was my neighbor. Okay. We're still not at the point where we should start the clock yet, according to the speedrun framework. Got some Cheez-Its. You like some? They're a Minecraft brand. So I mentioned earlier this annoying property about the UEFI BIOS thing here. I think I mentioned in previous episodes, but not today, at least not yet, that Talos uses some kind of kexec trick. So that is, the impact of that is very minimal, unless you're really physically turning on and off the machine. But even then, it's still not a big deal. Because it can net boot and then detect that it has a local configuration and use that. But it is much slower if it's net booting. And of course the risk that it won't work after a power outage. You might have multiple things coming up at once, have a thing that tries to net boot and fails and dumps you out at the terminal and says press Ctrl-Alt-Delete if you want to try again. Pretty big bummer when you're across the world at a conference. I don't think my monitor reboot script worked this time. It kind of looked like they rebooted already. Remember to do this in case you accidentally make Mr. Proper here and you this is how we wound up in this situation where we have to wipe the disks. And actually we can wipe the disks now. We can do that now. And then it will be time to start the clock. Well, it is too late to start the clock, really, but we're going to start it now. Shit. This is where I need to press F12. And just remind it to boot the operating system from disk. Or we'll be waiting a very long time. This is not the best time to start the timer. These things have to run in serial. Delightful snack. We're going to pretend we know what we're doing this time. This one is much faster. It has more CPU cores as well, and more RAM. Still not really server class machine for what Cozystack and Talos is meant to do. I think that some of the problems I have are performance issues that would be solved if I used a I don't know, bigger machine with 128 cores or something like that. Alright, we're going to stop the timer, restart, and we're going to start from now. Because that's not what I wanted, but okay. All right, we have ready to go. When we get to the point where the Flux CRDs are installed, we can pull up VS Code now and watch this progress in a much more visually engaging and reasonable way. Easy to follow. And hopefully everything progresses smoothly after that, and we can watch for the next two steps that we need to execute on our own. Okay, here we go. So it's going to take a minute for the controllers to come online. That's what we see right now. The controllers are not online yet. They're not ready. And the reason for that is these controllers need CNI. So we've got a flux operator that's configured a special way so that it doesn't require CNI to be online before it can run. It's using host network. Yeah, we've got the flux operator. We've got our flux operator is running still. Here we go, Cilium operator. And as soon as the Cilium pods are ready, or at least one Cilium pod is ready, we should see the cluster consider CNI ready and start scheduling pods. At which point we should see the sources become ready, given that the Cozystack installer is online and serving the sources, which we should be able to see is true. There are two containers in here. See, one of them is dark HTTPD, and the other is the installer itself that's applying these platformy bits to the cluster. And once the basic platformy bits are in place, what's going to happen then is Flux is going to start installing the rest of the system, which is all these things down here. So if you'd like to learn more about this, welcome to check out these links. But the really neat thing is that this is actually subscribed to these, so we don't have to push this refresh button. The reason that there isn't much action yet is because the source controller isn't quite ready. As soon as we see that source controller pop up on the list here again, we should see all of a sudden things are starting. The Helm release controller. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that neat? I don't know what that brief flash of things appearing to be ready was. I assume that was a glitch. But we do see the Cilium Helm release appears to be ready. Flux operator, flux CD operator. I'm not sure if that's because they are pre-installed. But we see a lot of things are progressing now, and we can minimize these views so we can see more of that. It's pretty nice. So now the easiest way to see what's going on is actually an inverse view where we look at what's wrong only. You can see the things that are in progress and have not progressed yet, so we can understand why they're not ready and what we're waiting for. There are a few things we're waiting for on here. We want the dashboard to be online, but we can't use it right away. We want MetalLB to be online, but not for the dashboard, actually. That is for our virtual Cube APIs, our KubeVirt+Kamaji control plane will run on there, and any other load balancers we need for the platform, of course, or for any tenants. Users of the platform can request load balancers and have them attached to their instances and then use them. We do that in our home lab. See, there are some dependency ordering things. cert-manager being ready will trigger a secondary Helm release here that runs cert-manager issuers. And in Cozystack, everything is a Helm release, which makes things somewhat easier for dependency ordering. You can reliably order dependencies. If you're familiar with Flux in detail, there's sort of an issue between customizations and Helm releases because they can't be ordered against each other. One applies the other. So you can't have a customization that depends on the Helm release, and you can't have a Helm release that depends on a customization. You can only have customizations that depend on customizations, and Helm releases that depend on Helm releases. That's kind of an annoying limitation, but we live with it. So, alright, we've got Linstor. That's the other thing we're waiting for. It looks like MetalLB is about ready, so we can go ahead and make MetalLB now. Okay. And we're going to need next this alias from the docs. Let's see, do we remember what we're doing? That's really neat. Actually, I didn't know you could do that. Yes. Alright, we go to the install Cozystack. We've already done all this. We've done, we're getting to this. We've done this. And we're going to move on to this afterwards. So let's get it going real quick here. So we're waiting for Linstor controller and Linstor satellites at least. When those things are ready to talk to each other, then we can do Linstor ps list and see that hopefully our disk wiping worked. We don't have we will have empty disks that we can write with pscdp, and we'll have to pass in the names of the nodes that belong to each pair of disks, since they have randomly generated names. Satellites being ready is a good sign, or beginning container creating. I'm not sure if that is progress actually. Was it already at that state? The dashboard looks like it's ready as well, or it's nearly ready. I don't know if it's upgraded itself or what just happened there. We're getting to the point where it looks from a Flux perspective like everything is ready because some things are not configured to wait as such, I think. I don't know if what we're waiting for is image pull, or is there some init phase that takes a long time? I really don't know. Let's see, can we find out? Yes, it's mostly pulling images from Quay, or Key. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. So it would be very beneficial if we could get those images in a local distribution. Of course, this is the last thing to become ready. So what we're going to see now is a minor bug in Cozystack, sort of an administrative issue. I'm not sure it's a bug in Cozystack as much as it's a little misconfiguration. Would be easy to resolve with a little bit of what we're going to see, I think, is it takes a little bit longer than the tolerance for Cilium to come up on these two clusters in parallel. And so what's going to happen is the Cilium is going to land in an install failed state. And Flux has recently added in, I think, Flux 2.2, flux reconcile helm release force command that actually does, I'm not sure what, but something that allows you to force that through. We haven't added it to the menu here yet, though, so it'll be reconcile with force. And it would be a only option for Helm releases. We don't need this for customization. And what's our timing like here? We've spent 5 minutes to create 2 clusters and 2 tenants after we spent 15 minutes to bring the entire system online. I think we're doing better than our speed record. And it's partially because of the add-on. We don't have to bootstrap our add-on clusters anymore. We can just kubectl apply when we get there. So I think there is a bug. I think there is a bug in the ingress-nginx, possibly more than one bug add-on, because it does fail until cert-manager is ready. And I think it would be okay if cert-manager just wasn't installed. I think it's some type of dependency issue between, like, not strict dependency, but crosstalk between the cert-manager, which has its own admission controllers, and the admission controllers not being online. I'm not really sure about what the issue is, but I know that when I force reconcile after it's failed, the issue goes away. So we'll see that. We'll see all these Helm releases go green. And I think we might need to grab a couple more kube configs now. Harvey and test. We're not going to switch to them right away because we want to see this go from progressing to fail if it does that. And if it doesn't, we just want to watch and see what happens next. And to be honest, we don't need to tune into the new virtual clusters yet. We don't need that until we have all this stuff working. Then we can go and apply our little configs. So we've got a Bootstrap Lite, the likes of which you've never seen before. If you've seen Bootstrap Lite on any of my previous videos where we did Bootstrap Lite, that was a different kind of Bootstrap Lite. This is flux-operator Bootstrap Lite, where we're creating the secret by hand. There's really no bootstrap about this. We're just using a pre-existing Flux installation in a Git repository that's not attached to any cluster, and we're going to attach it to the cluster. What I think we'll see, if we look at the list of what's wrong, is that the cluster nodes are up. They are just not up fast enough to be serving Cilium. It doesn't look like anything is wrong from here. All right, we got our Cilium install failure that we've been waiting for on both clusters. Just going to give each of them one of these. No problem. It's ready already. See? And that does kick things off in the two virtual clusters. And you can hear the fans spinning behind me. Makes me question my decision to go with virtual clusters at all. I think we're going to lean heavily on vCluster again in the future. Now that we have our Kubernetes that is reliably undockered and we don't have a choice but to upgrade, we can only be on the latest version if we want things to make any sense. Alright, so we've also got our install failure for ingress-nginx. And that has to do with cert-manager progressing. I'm not sure that it's going to work. Let's see. But we're not using that yet anyway, so tenant root. Here we'll give this guy another HR force. And cert-manager is ready now, so this should also become ready fairly quickly. So I think that's going to be it for today. Sort of a nice day outside. I'm going to go to the county fair. My wife's at the county fair for work. And I would like to get some fair food myself. They tend to have nice stuff, don't you know? Let's see what's the hold up here. If I remember correctly, there's some pods I have to delete. It looks like it's moving on its own. And what we see is we have Flux installed already. We're ready to start. Here, we'll do this. I have a new fleet infra repo for us we're going to work out of from now on. There's no customization in here. If you want to see what I just applied, that's all it is. I'm just adding a sink to the existing Flux instance resource, which happens to be synced by itself into the cluster, so this should stay. But we'll have an error to resolve that we'll need to run that command for. See, it's going to say failed to get secret because we haven't created the secret yet. So let's create it. Let's add it. And we remembered the phone. I'm pretty sure. Remembered the phone, so I can go ahead and do the deploy key thing. Cozy Fleet. Here's what I'm doing, of course. Here, we delete that one. That's what we need the phone for. I did have the phone. What did I do? Bring it downstairs? Ah, I'm so disappointed. I'm not going to be able to show you. I'm not going to run up and down the stairs one more time for the stream. I'm sorry. I'm not that into it. But you already knew that if you watched this far. And if you've seen any of the previous episodes. I'm sorry I've been in kind of a funk. Hope you can understand. I'm not going to say anything else. But we are going to have a little tribute here because if you don't understand, you'll understand. Or I don't know if you will or you won't. This is my Luna. Thanks for joining us on Sunkworks. See you next time. Don't be sad.